Toby, can you come and join me on stage? Can we have a round of applause, please? So,
yes,
let's get down to it. Where did it all start, Toby? Can you go back quite a few steps? So Creative Cubes is just one part of you. There's many facets, right?
Yeah, hopefully it's the end journey, but doubt it. So, born and raised in a very entrepreneurial environment. At the age of 14, I lost my dad, who passed away. And while that absolutely hurt and still hurts, the reality is I don't think I'd be where I am today if I didn't have to go through that experience. As a young kid, my dad was a raging entrepreneur. Dropped out of school when he was young, forced me to go all the way through. But when I used to leave my bedroom, my mum had plaques literally outside my bedroom. So my bedroom, then it was sort of like a hallway and then a bathroom. And the hallway between my bedroom and the bathroom was like littered with awards that my dad had won on a global scale. And so looking back, I really do feel like that was a very impressionable, every time I need to go to the toilet, there was that message reinforced. And one of the things that I really remember was my dad turned 40. He passed when I was 44. When he was 44, there was a cake that my mum had created for him for his 40th birthday, which was actually a photo of him on the icing. And there was a little bubble that said, "I did it my way." And I look back now, well, not literally at this moment, but look back and say, like, I think about the impression that that made on me. 2003, I met this girl. She happens to be here. And decided that I was going to move to Melbourne and see if we had a chance of being together. And I ended up, what was supposed to be for 6 months, ended up being here for 6 years. And Sim at the time, when we first got together, and I moved to Melbourne, we lived in a one-bedroom apartment. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment, she was living at home. I bought a dog called Subi, as in the Subi the jeans, but it wasn't named after Subi the jeans. But Sim basically said, "Toes, we just need a patch of backyard on our balcony." And that was like the light bulb moment. I don't know if it goes on or off, but it put rocket fuel inside of me. And I went out and created this thing called the Pet Loo. And if you're a pet owner and you go to a pet store, I'd say 9.5 times out of 10 you'd see Pet Loo exhibited or retailed in shops. And so that kind of fueled a 10-year journey. After 6 years, which by the way was supposed to be 6 months in Melbourne and then we'll go to Sydney for 6 months, I ended up being here for 6 years. We went to Los Angeles because in 2006 we started exporting by the container load to the US market. And so I remember very clearly on a Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, we were watching footy, lying down, and Sim said, "Do you want to go live overseas?" We just started this monster business. I was like, "Yeah, kind of, but we can't." And she's like, "Well, let's put a manager in and let's train a manager over the next 12 months, and let's see if we can like go abroad." I was like, "Cool, okay." And so she says, "Where do you want to go?" I said, "Where do you want to go?" And she goes, "I asked you first." I said, "I'm a gentleman, I'm trying to ask, you know." So on the count of 3, she said LA, I said Los Angeles. So we moved to LA 2008, 2009, and we lived there for almost 9 years. We've actually been back just under 2 years now. And basically went there trying to export and grow the US business. Talk about being kicked in the hairy beanbag. We went to LA 2008. It was the peak of the global financial crisis. No one was buying anything. And I remember converting $300,000 in Aussie dollars to go to the US. So at the time we decided to go, it was like 97, 98 cents to one, which was awesome. The day we got there and exchanged the money, it was 58 cents to one. So overnight, $164,000 just evaporated in exchange rate. Peak of the global financial crisis, I just fired my distributor, who I asked to sell into retail stores, and decided it would just sell e-com direct to consumer. So he was buying at container load pricing, which was great, but then selling at retail and making a distributor margin to the retail margin. It was making like more money than I was. And I was like sweating. So I dismissed him. I said he could stay on and continue his channel. He was like, fuck you, I'm out. So I was $300,000 negative on the sales line. I was $164,000 negative on exchange rate, peak of the global financial crisis, and we just landed in LA. And so I basically worked my ass off. True story, we used to eat, well, I didn't, but Sim used to eat cereal for dinner because we didn't have another choice. And over the course of 4 years, we built the business up. And in 2012, I sold the business for all cash to the largest player in the space. I literally went from sort of like negative 460,000 to just shy of 10 mil in rev. And debt-free, cash flow positive, broke as a joke because every dollar that came in had to go in to fuel the next container. And I was always container loads behind. Yeah. But at the end of the day, come 2013, I sold to a company called Pet Safe out of Knoxville, Tennessee. They paid all cash for the business. I had no investors. And like life had begun. And so joined them for a couple of years. And then Sim, she kind of pestered me for a little bit. You're all here, so she's not gonna get angry. Pestered me for a period of time to say, hey, can we go home, can we go home, can we go home? And so in 2016, October, we came home. And now she's like, why do we come home? It's freezing here.
So before we move on to the Creative Cubes journey then, I'd just like to go back a little bit. And obviously you talked about that moment on the cake and it was your dad doing it his way. Yeah. I know you do it your way a lot. What is your way, and what are those key traits that have made you what you are today?
I think resistance and resilience. I have this motto and had this saying at Petlu: upstream is the new downstream. Everyone's going that way. I don't want to go that way. I want to go that way, where everyone kind of is not going. Petlu was an amazing journey. I kind of miss it, but I also where I'm at today is, I'm sort of coming down the mountain. I've come down the mountain, and don't look at that as a hierarchy aspect. And I'm trying to get all the people at Creative Cubes either on my back or at least help them navigate back up the mountain. And so, I'm trying to now create spaces and environments and communities to support people from having to deal with the shit that I had to deal with. And I guess if anyone's a parent here, my parents wanted what they didn't have for me, and I want what I didn't have for my kids, or our kids. And so I also want that from an entrepreneurial standpoint. I want people that have an idea that are kind of maybe about to jump off the cliff. I'm gonna push you, hopefully. I'm gonna teach you how to build the plane. And then I'm going to surround you with other people that are sort of like trying to figure it out as well, and then we're all going to take off together. Yeah. And that's what inspires me. That's what makes me move every day. And that's why I'm up at 4:30 every morning, pumped to start the day.
Yeah, and when you got to that point of where you were able to sell the business initially, what was it that, what was the key kind of elements in that whole brokering of that deal that allowed you to sell out there?
Yeah, so I took an idea from Elwood, Victoria. I took that to a global market of 150 countries of distribution. I proved the demand. I proved that we were the category leader. I mean, it's not a pretty space, but we're in waste management or pet waste management, which global crisis, no global crisis. It's not.
It's money, right?
It's not going to dry up anytime soon, and actually kind of made pee and poo sexy. From a pet ownership perspective, I enabled a lot of people to have dogs, whether they lived in an apartment, on a boat, in a cold climate where their dogs won't go outside and they're doing the stuff inside. We enabled all of that, And I think that the data was there. The brand was in stores. People were loving the product, the reviews. So it gave the acquirer every reason to make the purchase. And for me, I was really excited that they could take the business beyond what my means were, without me having to go and raise venture to continue to go. Yeah. So,
perfect.
Data points.
Yeah, data points. And talking a little bit around the community aspect as well. So obviously you surround yourself with other people with other skill sets at Creative Cubes. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of that and your success as well?
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, Creative Cubes is a collaborative workspace here on Church Street. Our second building opens in Hawthorne, and we have aspirations of taking on the world, obviously. What I neglected to talk about, or kind of jumped over, was during my time in Los Angeles, we lived in a 3-bedroom apartment. The second bedroom was for guests that were coming it was a rotating door for everyone that came. And the third bedroom was my office. We had logistics in a 3PL, third-party logistics center, in another state. And so long as I was connected to the web, I was able to process orders. We had NetSuite, MYB. We had NetSuite, ERP, and CRM. And I just remember everything was EDI integrated with the big box stores. There's Amazon. They were sending tens of thousands of dollars worth of orders. And sometimes I wasn't actually at the apartment. I might have been on the plane flying to another retail location or a distributor. And so long as I was connected, I was able to distribute product. And so Sim and I got to a point in our relationship where I was so obsessed with the business, and she was so obsessed with, or maybe not obsessed, honey, not obsessed, with living in Los Angeles and sort of like traveling abroad. We were young, we were newly married, we didn't have kids, we had 2 dogs that we kind of imported from Australia to live with us. But we were pretty free, with the exception of money. And so, a bike ride to Venice Beach, which was, a kilometer away from our apartment, was a big deal. So she would bust in the door at, 2 o'clock in the afternoon and go, "Hey, you want to do this?" I was like, I'm at work. Yeah, I know you're at work, but you're here. But no, I'm not here. I am here, but I'm not here. And then on the flip side, it was like, "Hey, do you want to watch, I think 24? Would that be a relevant show back then? Yeah? You want to watch 24 tonight? Yeah, cool. I'll just go to the toilet, and then I'd come back to the toilet via the spare bedroom and hear my email, ching. I'd just check email. 3 hours later, I'd wait, kind of come out. What's going on with 24? That was 3 hours ago. She's fast asleep on the couch. And so there was just no break. And so I moved into a collaborative workspace, which actually happened to be the old Google headquarters in Santa Monica, which was really cool because Google had moved out to Venice, and this guy had taken over this workspace. This was way before any other collaborative workspace existed. It was called ROC, Real Office Centers. And there was a tech scene. It was very much like Silicon Block here. It was in Silicon Beach, which is a smaller tech scene to Silicon Valley, although Silicon Beach has now got bigger transactions going through it than Silicon Valley, like Snapchat, so on and so forth. And so it was a real scene. And sort of when I immersed myself for the sake of our relationship, and by the way, we weren't in trouble, at least I don't think we were.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, we're all good. When I immersed myself in this community, I actually created a boundary between work and play. And it was exciting, not that it wasn't, it really wasn't, to go home at night because I'd kind of locked my work away. I had a desktop, I had an iMac there, so I wasn't running on a laptop, and I was able to really compartmentalize life. And so it was at that collaborative workspace that the next part of the journey started to be realized. And I'm a very, very loyal person, but running the pet business and sort of working in this collaborative workspace. By the way, Uber, I'm not sure if you've heard of them, started literally across the corridor. Closer to you, where you and I sit, was me and Uber in Santa Monica. And so surrounding yourself with people like that, like what's this Uber thing? Oh, you'll hear about us in a few years. maybe similar to your story. And so I'm surrounding myself with people like that and having lunch with these types of guys that have these wild ideas really turned me on. Like, it really was exhilarating.
I can sense that.
Yeah. And so I started having this sort of like, hey, I love the pet business and I love what I'm doing here, but wow, this collaborative workspace is really something special. You're not only influencing or being part of and supporting the people, but you're influencing their markets, because those people are actually able to springboard off this platform, which is a desk or a private office, to deliver their message and and sort of like their vision. And so it was very clear to me. I started flirting with this in 2013. So Creative Cubes, although sort of not even a year old at this stage, has really been nurtured and developed and learned since 2013. We only moved back in late 2016, almost 2017. And so I fell in love with like community and collaboration. And I'll tell you, the success that I had at Petloo was absolutely because I had an amazing woman behind me, but I was also able to rub shoulders with people that were like changing the world and had that fuck it mentality, like just throw yourself off the cliff and see what happens. And so I don't think we have that here in Australia. I think we have it probably within people, but I don't think we have it as a society. You know, there's that tall poppy syndrome situation. I remember going to, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I remember going to a meetup where this guy was selling his courses. And he said the difference between the Australian market and the US market is, and he starts bragging about how much money he's got and how well he's doing. He goes, I'm so successful, I bought myself a Lamborghini, which in my head was like, you wanker, like, fuck, who cares about that, right? Serious, true story. And he goes, I made so much money, I decided, and I lived in Colorado, not me, this guy, just so we're clear. He's like, I decided when I moved back to Queensland, I bought the same Ferrari and bought it on the opposite side of the car to drive it. And he goes, the craziest thing happened was when I was in Queensland, I pulled up at the zebra crossing and this guy walked kind of across me, he goes, you fucking wanker. Like, what are you going to do that for? Like, dickhead. And moves on. He said the same experience happened in America. This guy was pushing a trolley, homeless, and he stopped and he clapped the guy. He's like, fuck, good on you, man. Even though he had nothing. And so that resonated with me. I'm not saying go buy Ferrari or Lamborghini or whatever. I'm saying that we should be lifting people up. And if you have a fucking crazy idea, like, I want to wrap myself around you and you can get on my back and I'll help carry you to the top of the mountain. And so that is, for me, the inspiration for Creative Cubes. And I hope that I can help push a lot of people off the cliff in a very safe, controlled way and inspire them to just have a crack. Admittedly, when I was 23, like when we first started Petloo, I'm 38 now, or 38 this year, we had nothing. I came to Melbourne with like maybe $1,000 or $2,000 in my wallet. So the loss wasn't that big. Now it's potentially catastrophic, but I've learned so much and I feel like I've got good control and can see almost around the corners. I'm not invincible and I'm learning lessons every day. But I really do hope, and I really hope that Creative Cubes is a big enabler for people that are just like, screw this corporate job. I studied podiatry, by the way. You studied law, doing jewelry. I studied podiatry and started making dog toilets.
So I've seen a little bit around Creative Cubes, and you've got this amazing team called the Happiness Team, the concierge staff, which are fantastic. But I also know that you show people around. So we have people coming to check out the office spaces, and you personally check them around. Is that because, you know, you can't let go and you've got to have that control, or is it more because, yeah, your passion is the one that's coming through when you're showing those people around?
No, I want to push them off the cliff.
Yeah.
You know what it is? I want to lead by example. So I don't feel in creative cubes like I have to have this tight grip. I have an incredible team. There's that old saying, you gotta like be the dumbest person in the room, you're actually going somewhere. Like I feel like that every day because I have no business being on the happiness team. As much as I feel like I have the skill set, the team is elite. I have no business running CFO, COO, tech, CTO stuff. While I get it and know how to get it done, like the team is elite. And so me touring people it goes back to the leadership, which is if I can't expect the people to do it if I'm not prepared to do it myself. And the Petloo days, I got a cool story for you. I got an email, it's a total segue, but I got an email from a customer that came to info@petloo.com or whatever it was, right? Hi Toby, met you at the trade show, like want to buy this, want to do that. I reply, nice to connect, I'll forward the email on to Toby. He's not in the office right now, but I'll make sure that I'm copying him on his email. True story, guys. Thanks so much. When he gets back into the office later, I'll let him know. Turn the corner, open my laptop. No, I am in the office, I'm over here. And I'm like literally having a conversation under 2 different aliases, making the business look bigger than it was. But in truth, when we scaled the business, I knew how to pick, pack, and send. I knew how to, dare I say, sweep the floors. I knew how to, answer the phones. And if I can't do it myself, then there's no ways in hell that I'll get compliance from somebody else. And I tell my daughter all the time, leadership is rolling your sleeves up and doing it with the people. Being a boss is someone that kind of like tells you what to do. I'm not a boss.
Yeah, cool. I've been hearing also that your daughter as well, whilst we're still on that topic, she wants to be a YouTuber, everybody. So I think she's 7 years old maybe, and she wants to be a YouTuber. What kind of principles do you try and instill in her that maybe equip her for the wider world later on?
There's so much in that. Yeah. So she used to think, her name's Madison. She's from LA, and she was actually born, and the room that she was born in overlooked the Hollywood sign. So all this diva that comes out of her is totally on us, because we chose that room, because I thought it'd be pretty iconic. But Maddie used to think the coolest thing in the world was to be a mum, and then she found out that Dad does a vlog from Creative Cubes every day, and it's on YouTube, and she thinks that that's really cool. That said, she obviously, she's a very bright star in potentially a very dark world, and she's super talented and super smart, and I'm not just saying that because I'm her dad. She actually went up a year, she's only 6, almost 7, at school, but she has this like fear of people looking at her, and fear that she's got all the skill set, she understands it, she knows what to do and how to do it, but there's an audience here, so she goes really shy. I think in all fairness to her, she's 6, so rightly so. But without dropping the F-bomb, or maybe I do, I'm like, babe, just go for it. You got this. And we do a Maddie and Daddy ski trip. This year is our 4th Maddie and Daddy ski trip. And she's like, talk about jumping off the cliff. She's on the ski fields. She's like, I don't want to go to class. I want to go on the ski lift right to the top with you. I'm like, how are you going to get down? She's like, we'll figure it out. And so I'm enabling that in a very safe, controlled way. Don't report me to child services. And I'm just, it's okay to fall over. It's okay to make a mistake. Nothing is picture perfect. In fact, the more times you fall over, the better you become. And so I remember very clearly, thinking about what I wanted to say here tonight, I remember very clearly running athletics and swimming, and almost every time when I was a good swimmer, some say I was the best, but I remember literally swimming and like breathing, and out the corner of my eye, I could see my mum like running up and down the swim lane. And likewise, you know, I used to be an 800 meter runner and a 1500 meter runner. My mum would do the laps on the inside of the park while I was going around the track, yelling and screaming. And that's what I want to be when I grow up. I want to do that for my kids. I want to inspire them. I want them to hustle. I want them to work their butt off. I want them to win, but it's okay if they lose. And I actually like try and really drill Maddie with, you know, you don't really ever lose. There's a lot of lessons that come from maybe not getting the result that you wanted. Trust me, I know. But don't stop.
Yeah, and I think that applies to obviously the people that are in your space on a day-to-day basis and the role that you have there. So what does the future hold for Creative Cubes? Where are you taking it and how are you going to do that?
Yeah, great question. I mean, we have aspirations of scaling to the whole country. Maybe even, like, I've got a lot of relationships throughout the US. You know, I did business there for over 9 years. I'm an investor now in a dog food company called WAG that just broke into the US market in like a crazy way through my relationships and the people that I've done business with historically. So you know, scaling, kind of dialing back to Cubes, I hope that in the next 12 months we'll have a location, if not multiple locations throughout other states through Australia. And sort of, I'm not here to try and like, don't get me wrong, there's absolutely an exit, like not planned, but sort of projected, I guess. But I'm not really interested. Like if you came today and said, I want to buy your company and you gave me a crazy amount of money, I'd probably deny it because I'm having so much fun. But the goal is to sort of scale that across Australia and maybe a location or two throughout the US, you know, to help Aussie companies break into the US or Canadian markets where, you know, I've got relationships and anything I can do to help the people. I'm a serial entrepreneur, but I really genuinely feel like I'm a people's entrepreneur. And I'm kind of looking out for the people within the community, and hopefully I become a byproduct of that success, or their success, should I say.
Excellent. Okay, so unfortunately time's up for Tobi there, but we're gonna invite Tobi back in a second for some Q&A. So Tobi Skovron of Creative Cubes, can we have a round of applause, everybody? Thank you very much, Tobi. Amazing. Cheers, mate. Thank you.